It was just another Tuesday evening, the kind where the air's still warm from the day and the sun's dipping low, painting the sky orange. Justin Becker and his girlfriend, Sarah, had just gotten back to their little house on Maple Street after a solid run. They were sweaty, laughing about how Justin almost tripped over a crack in the sidewalk, when, bam, there it was. A knock on the door. Not a loud one, just a quick, polite tap tap tap. Justin wiped his forehead with the back of his hand and glanced at Sarah. "You expecting anything?" he asked, already heading for the door. "Nope," she said, kicking off her sneakers. "Maybe it's that Amazon thing you ordered last week." He shrugged and swung the door open. Standing there was a guy in a delivery uniform, brown shirt, matching cap, clipboard in hand. He looked normal enough, maybe mid-30s, with a scruffy beard and a tired smile. "Hey man," the guy said, holding up a small package. "Got a delivery for you. Scanner's busted though. Mind if I step in real quick? Need to borrow a pen to sign this off." Justin hesitated for half a second. Something about the dude's vibe felt off, but he brushed it away. "Yeah, sure, come on in," he said, stepping aside. Sarah was already rummaging through the kitchen junk drawer, calling out, "I've got a pen somewhere in here." The delivery guy crossed the threshold, and that's when everything went sideways. The tired smile dropped like a mask, and before Justin could blink, the dude yanked a gun from under his clipboard. "Nobody move," he barked, voice sharp now, all traces of friendly gone. The package hit the floor with a dull thud, probably empty, Justin realized later. Sarah froze mid-step, the pen still in her hand, her eyes wide. "What the hell?" she whispered. Justin's heart slammed against his ribs, but before he could even process what to do, a low growl rumbled through the room. Kilo. Their 12-year-old pit bull had been napping on his dog bed in the corner, but now he was up, ears flat, teeth bared. That dog had seen some years, gray around the muzzle, a little slower on his walks, but right then, he looked like a damn lion. The robber swung the gun toward Kilo, shouting, "Back off, mutt." Big mistake. Kilo didn't back off. He lunged. It was chaos, fast and loud. The guy stumbled back, yelling something Justin couldn't make out over Sarah's scream. Kilo's jaws clamped onto the robber's arm, and the gun went off. Bang. The sound exploded in the small living room, ringing in Justin's ears. He dove for Sarah, pulling her down behind the couch as Kilo yelped, a sharp, awful sound that made Justin's stomach twist. For a second, everything stopped. Justin peeked over the couch, expecting the worst. Blood was on the floor, yeah, but Kilo wasn't down. The old dog was staggering, shaking his head like he'd just taken a punch, but he was still snarling. The robber, though? He was freaking out, clutching his arm where Kilo had torn into him, the gun still in his other hand. "Crazy friggin' dog," he spat, backing toward the door. Justin's eyes locked on Kilo. There was a hole in the side of his head, blood trickling down his neck, but the dog wasn't dropping. He took a wobbly step forward, growling low, like he was daring the guy to try that again. The robber didn't stick around to test him. He bolted out the door, leaving the fake package behind, disappearing into the dusk. Sarah was shaking, her voice cracking as she crawled toward Kilo. "Oh my God, baby, are you okay?" Justin was right behind her, adrenaline pumping so hard he could barely think straight. Blood was smeared across Kilo's gray fur, but the dog turned his head, looking up at them with those big, dark eyes. He licked Sarah's hand, tail giving a weak wag. "Holy crap," Justin muttered, kneeling beside him. "He shot you in the head, and you're still standing? You're a damn tank, Kilo." They didn't know it yet, but that bullet? It had ricocheted off Kilo's thick skull, zipped through his neck, and somehow missed everything important. 3 days later, that tough old pit bull would be back on his feet, walking the street like nothing happened. But right then, in that moment, all Justin and Sarah could do was hold him, pray, and wait for the cops to show up. The living room felt like a war zone. Blood on the floor, that fake package sitting there like a bad joke, and Kilo panting hard in Sarah's lap. Justin was on his knees next to them, one hand on Kilo's back, the other fumbling with his phone to dial 911. His hands were shaking so bad, he almost dropped it twice. Come on, he muttered, finally getting the call through. 911, what's your emergency? The voice on the other end was calm, way too calm for what was going down. Some dude just tried to rob us. Justin blurted. He shot my dog, shot him in the head. We need help, like, Now, Maple Street, number 47. Sir, stay calm. Is the suspect still there? Are you injured? No. He ran off, but my dog's bleeding bad. Hurry. Justin's voice cracked, and he hung up before the operator could ask anything else. He looked at Sarah, who was pressing an old dish towel against Kilo's neck, her hands red and trembling. They're coming, babe. Hang in there, Kilo. Kilo whimpered, his big head resting against Sarah's leg, but his eyes were still open, watching them. That dog was a fighter, 12 years old, arthritis in his hips, and now a bullet hole in his skull, and he was still hanging on. Justin grabbed another towel from the kitchen and swapped it with the soaked one Sarah was holding. You're tougher than me, buddy, he said, trying to laugh. It came out more like a choke. Minutes dragged by like hours, every creak of the house making them jump, thinking the robber might come back. Then, finally, sirens. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows, and the front door burst open with cops spilling in, guns drawn. Hands up. Where's the suspect? One of them shouted. He's gone, Sarah yelled, her voice hoarse. It's just us and our dog, he's hurt. The lead cop, a big guy with a buzz cut, lowered his weapon and waved the others to stand down. All right, let's see what we've got. Animal control's on the way too. He knelt next to Kilo, whistling low. Damn, this pup took a bullet and he's still kicking? That's one hell of a dog. Yeah, he saved our asses, Justin said, his throat tight. That guy came in pretending to deliver something, then pulled a gun. Kilo didn't even hesitate. The cop nodded, scribbling notes while his partner started taping off the scene. Outside, neighbors were poking their heads out, whispering to each other as an ambulance rolled up, for Kilo, not them. Sarah kept stroking Kilo's ears, murmuring, You're so brave, baby. So brave. The paramedics rushed in, but they took one look at Kilo and shook their heads. We don't do dogs, one said. Vet's gotta handle this. Justin wanted to yell at them. Kilo was family, not just some pet, but before he could, a woman in a green jacket pushed through. I'm with Animal Rescue, she said, dropping a big medical bag next to Kilo. Let me take a look. She was fast, checking Kilo's head, his neck, his pulse. Bullet went in here, she said, pointing, and out here. Looks like it missed the brain and major arteries. This dog's a miracle. She started bandaging him up, working like she'd done this 100 times. We need to get him to the clinic ASAP, though. He's lost blood. Justin and Sarah didn't argue. They helped lift Kilo onto a stretcher. Well, Justin did most of the lifting. Kilo wasn't light, even old and wounded. The cops were still asking questions, but Justin barely heard them over the pounding in his head. Can we go with him? He asked the rescue lady. Yeah, follow in your car, she said, already moving. He's stable for now, but we're not out of the woods. The next hour was a blur, driving behind the animal rescue van, Sarah gripping Justin's hand so tight it hurt, the radio off because neither of them could handle noise. At the vet clinic, they sat in a sterile waiting room, staring at posters of happy pets while Kilo was in surgery. Justin kept replaying it all, the knock, the gun, that yelp. If he doesn't make it, he started, but Sarah cut him off. He will. He's Kilo. Her voice was shaky but sure, and she was right. 2 hours later, the vet came out, a gray-haired guy with tired eyes and a grin. Your dog's a tank, he said. Bullet ricocheted off his skull, tore through some muscle, but nothing vital. He's stitched up and sedated. You can see him soon. Justin let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Sarah buried her face in his shoulder, crying and laughing at the same time. Kilo wasn't just going to make it. He was already proving he was tougher than anyone in that room. The vet clinic waiting room smelled like antiseptic and wet dog, but to Justin and Sarah, it might as well have been paradise. Kilo was alive, stitched up, doped up on pain meds, and sleeping off the wildest night of his life. The clock on the wall said it was pushing 11 p.m., but neither of them cared. They sat there on hard plastic chairs, Sarah's head on Justin's shoulder, both of them too wired to even think about crashing. He's gonna have one hell of a story to tell the other dogs, Justin said, cracking a grin for the first time since the knock. Sarah snorted, wiping her eyes. Yeah. Hey, pups, ever take a bullet to the head and walk it off? He's basically a superhero now. The vet had let them peek in on Kilo before he settled into recovery. The old pit bull looked rough, bandages wrapped around his head and neck, one ear flopped over funny, but his chest was rising and falling steady. That was enough. 3 days, the vet had said. Give him that, and he'll be back on his feet, chasing squirrels like nothing happened. Justin still couldn't wrap his head around it. A bullet to the skull, and Kilo just shrugged it off? He'd always known that dog was tough. Hell, Kilo had once stared down a raccoon that got into the trash like it was no big deal, but this was next-level badass. The cops showed up at the clinic not long after, same buzzcut guy from the house leading the pack. Justin Becker? Sarah Miles? He said, flipping open his notebook. Need to get your statements while it's fresh. Mind stepping outside? They followed him to the parking lot, the night air cool against their sweaty skin. A couple of patrol cars were parked nearby, lights off, but still humming with that cop vibe. Buzzcut, whose name tag read Officer Daniels, leaned against one and got straight to it. Walk me through it again. Delivery guy, gun, dog. All of it. Justin ran a hand through his hair, recounting the whole mess. The knock, the fake package, the way the guy's face changed when he pulled the gun. Sarah jumped in, her voice steadier now, filling in details about Kilo's attack and the shot. Daniels scribbled fast, nodding like he'd heard this kind of thing before, but was still impressed. Sounds like your dog's the real MVP, he said, tapping his pen against the page. Pitbull, huh? Figures. Those guys don't mess around. Yeah, he's our guard dog and our baby all in one, Sarah said, managing a small smile. Saved us without even thinking about it. Daniels flipped the notebook shut. All right, we've got a description. Male, mid-30s, scruffy beard, brown uniform. We're pulling footage from any cameras on your street. But if this guy's smart, he ditched the get-up already. You two see anything else? Tattoos, accent, anything weird? Justin frowned, racking his brain. He talked normal, I guess. Kinda rough, like he smoked too much. Oh wait, his shoes. They weren't delivery guy shoes. They were, like, beat-up sneakers. Black ones. Good catch, Daniels said, jotting that down. We'll put it out there. For now, go home, lock up tight. We'll call if we get anything. Home. The word hit Justin like a brick. That little house on Maple Street didn't feel like home right now. It felt like a crime scene. But Kilo was safe, and that was what mattered. They thanked Daniels, promised to call if they remembered more, and headed back inside to say goodnight to their hero. The drive home was quiet, the streets empty except for a stray cat darting across the road. Sarah stared out the window, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. You think he'll come back? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Justin gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. The robber? Nah. Kilo scared the crap out of him. Guy's probably halfway across the state by now, nursing that arm. He hoped he sounded more sure than he felt. When they pulled into the driveway, the house looked different, darker, somehow. The front door was still taped off with yellow police stuff, so they went in through the garage. Inside, the blood was still there, dried into the rug, and that fake package sat on the floor like a taunt. Justin kicked it into a corner. I'll deal with that tomorrow, he muttered. Sarah grabbed a blanket from the couch and wrapped it around herself. I'm not sleeping tonight, she said. No way. Me neither, Justin admitted. They ended up camped out in the living room, lights on, TV playing some dumb late-night show neither of them watched. Every creak of the house made them jump, but the hours ticked by with no knocks, no sirens, just the two of them, waiting for morning and for Kilo to come home. Morning came slow, the kind of slow where you're not sure you even slept or just stared at the ceiling all night. Justin and Sarah were still on the couch, the TV now droning some infomercial about a blender that could apparently change your life. The living room smelled like stale coffee. They brewed a pot around 3 a.m., but barely touched it. Sunlight crept through the blinds, hitting the dried blood on the rug, and Justin finally dragged himself up. We gotta clean this, he said, voice rough from no sleep. Kilo's coming home tomorrow. I don't want him walking back into a damn horror movie. Sarah nodded, rubbing her eyes. Yeah, let's just get it over with. She grabbed some rags and a bottle of cleaner from under the sink, and they got to work, scrubbing in silence. It wasn't easy. Every swipe brought back flashes of the night before. The gun, Kilo's yelp, the guy running out. Justin kept his jaw clenched, focusing on the task, but his mind was spinning. Who was that dude? And why them? By noon, the rug was as good as it was going to get, and they'd tossed the fake package into the trash. Cops had already checked it, just an empty box with a random label. Justin's phone buzzed while they were washing up, and he snatched it off the counter. "It's the vet," he said, putting it on speaker. "Hey, Justin? Sarah? Good news." The vet's voice crackled through. "Kilo's awake, eating a little. He's groggy, but he's wagging his tail. You can pick him up tomorrow morning if all goes smooth." Sarah let out a shaky laugh, tears in her eyes again. "Thank God. Tell him we love him, okay?" "Will do," the vet chuckled. "He's a legend around here already." That call was like a shot of energy. They weren't out of the woods, but knowing Kilo was pulling through lit a fire under them. Justin grabbed his keys. "I'm heading to the hardware store," he said. "New locks, maybe a camera. No way that guy's catching us off guard again." Sarah tagged along, and they spent an hour picking out deadbolts and a cheap security cam. Nothing fancy, just enough to sleep easier. Back home, Justin bolted the new locks onto the front door while Sarah set up the camera, syncing it to her phone. "Look at us," she said, half smiling. "Turning into survivalists over here." "Yeah, well, Kilo can't do all the heavy lifting." Justin shot back, tightening the last screw. They were just testing the camera when a cop car rolled up, Officer Daniels again, stepping out with a tired wave. "Hey, folks," he said, adjusting his belt. "Got an update. Mind if I come in?" They let him in, and he plopped onto the couch like he'd been up all night too. "So, we got something," he started, pulling out his notebook. "Neighbor's camera a block over caught a guy matching your description peeling out in a beat-up sedan, gray, no plates. Time matches when he bolted from here." Justin leaned forward. "You find him?" "Not yet," Daniels said, shaking his head. "But we traced the car to a gas station about 20 miles out. Clerk said a guy came in, arm all bloody, bought bandages and a burner phone. Paid cash, took off. We're pulling more footage, but he's slippery." Sarah frowned. "So he's still out there?" "Looks like it," Daniels admitted. "But he's hurt, thanks to your dog. Probably laying low. We're thinking he's not local. Maybe passing through, looking for an easy score. You two got anything valuable he might have known about?" Justin and Sarah traded a look. "Nah," Justin said. "We're not exactly rolling in cash. TV's old, no jewelry worth a damn. Maybe he just picked us random." "Could be," Daniels said, scratching his chin. "These guys don't always plan smart. Fake delivery's a common trick, gets M in the door. But Kilo threw a wrench in that plan." He grinned a little. "Pitbull's a better cop than some of my rookies." They all laughed, but it didn't last. Daniels stood, handing Justin a card. "Call me if anything pops up, weird cars, noises, whatever. And keep that dog close when he's back." After he left, the house felt quiet again, too quiet. Justin checked the camera feed on Sarah's phone. It showed the empty front porch, the street beyond. "Least we'll see him coming next time," he said, but it didn't shake the unease in his gut. That night, they slept in shifts, Justin first, then Sarah, each keeping an eye on the phone screen. Around 2 a.m., Justin jolted awake to Sarah shaking him. "Babe, look," she hissed, shoving the phone in his face. The camera had pinged, motion detected. Heart pounding, he squinted at the grainy feed. Something moved in the shadows near the porch, a figure too blurry to make out. "Is that him?" Sarah whispered, gripping his arm. Justin didn't answer. He grabbed the baseball bat from under the couch, adrenaline kicking in all over again. Justin's grip on the baseball bat was so tight his knuckles turned white. The camera feed on Sarah's phone showed that shadow moving, slow, creeping along the edge of the porch like it was testing the waters. "Stay here," he whispered, already halfway to the door. "No way," Sarah shot back, grabbing a kitchen knife from the counter. "We're in this together." Her voice was shaky, but her eyes were fire. Justin didn't argue. There wasn't time. He flicked off the living room lights, plunging the house into dark except for the faint glow of the phone. The new locks clicked loud in the silence as he eased the door open just enough to peek out. The night was still, crickets chirping, but there, by the bushes, a figure crouched low. Too dark to see his face, but the shape was right. Scruffy beard, hunched like he was favoring an arm. "It's him," Justin breathed, heart hammering. "Call Daniels." Sarah was already dialing, whispering fast into the phone while Justin stepped onto the porch, bat raised. "Hey," he yelled, voice cutting through the quiet. "You picked the wrong house, asshole." The figure froze, then bolted, limping hard, straight for the street. Justin didn't think. He charged after him, bare feet slapping the cold pavement. The guy was fast, but that arm slowed him down, and Justin was pissed. All the fear, the blood, Kilo's pain, it fueled him. He swung the bat as he closed the gap, clipping the guy's shoulder. The robber stumbled, cursing loud, "Son of a," and hit the ground, rolling into the neighbor's yard. Justin loomed over him, bat ready, but headlights flooded the street before he could swing again. A cop car screeched up, Daniels jumping out with his gun drawn. "Drop it. Hands where I can see him." The guy groaned, raising one arm. The other was a mess, bandaged, sloppy, and leaking blood. All right, he spat, face twisted in pain. Justin stepped back, chest heaving, as Daniels cuffed him and shoved him into the car. Sarah ran up, still clutching the knife, her phone pressed to her ear. "They're sending backup," she said, then dropped the knife like it just hit her. She'd been holding it. "Holy crap, Justin, you got him." Daniels smirked, slamming the car door. "Nice work, man. Save me a chase." "This the guy?" Justin nodded, staring at the robber through the window. Same rough face, same smoker's rasp as he muttered threats. "Yeah, that's him. Matches the gas station footage," Daniels said, radio crackling as he called it in. "Name's Ricky Holt, small-time crook, couple warrants out. Guess he thought you'd be an easy mark." Bad call. Backup rolled in, lights flashing, and the neighbors started spilling out again, gawking as Ricky got hauled off. Daniels clapped Justin on the shoulder. "You and that dog? Hell of a team. Get some rest, you earned it." Rest didn't come easy, but the next morning, they were at the vet clinic bright and early. Kilo was waiting, tail wagging slow, bandages still on, but looking like himself again. The vet grinned as he handed over the leash. "Told you he's a tank. 3 days, and he's ready to roll." Back home, Kilo sniffed the cleaned rug, then flopped onto his bed with a big sigh, like he was saying, "Yeah, I handled it." Sarah knelt beside him, scratching his good ear. "You're the real hero, buddy. We just finished the job." Justin sank onto the couch, watching them. The locks were new, the camera was up, and Ricky was behind bars. Daniels had called to confirm he'd confessed, hoping for a deal. Said he'd picked their house random, saw them running and figured they'd be tired, easy prey. Didn't count on Kilo. "Dumbass," Justin muttered, shaking his head. He grabbed a beer from the fridge, first one in days that didn't feel like a necessity, and popped it open. "To Kilo," he said, raising it. Sarah grabbed one too, clinking hers against his. "To Kilo, toughest damn dog in the world." Kilo lifted his head, letting out a little woof like he knew they were toasting him. The street outside was quiet again, the way it should be, and for the first time since that knock, Justin felt like he could breathe. They'd faced the worst and come out on top. Him, Sarah, and their bulletproof pit bull. Life was going to be okay, maybe even better, with a story they'd tell for years.